Today we got UFC fighters that should have been champions. All right, kicking off the list, we got Tony Ferguson. Tony, man, this one sucks because he won the interim belt against Kevin Lee on October 7th, 2016. And the reason why I was the interim champ is because Conor McGregor beat Eddie Alvarez on November 12th, 2016 for the title. So the UFC books Tony Ferguson versus Khabib. This was the fourth time they've tried to book this fight, but, shit just kept happening, as you know. The second they booked the Khabib versus Tony fight, while Tony was the interim champion, they should have stripped McGregor of the title. It makes no sense that a guy who's not even in the fucking sport, was doing boxing and all this shit and jerking off, should be the fucking champ. To put this into perspective, McGregor became champ in 2016. He hasn't fought an MMA fight since. He's still the champ in 2018. And so right before the fight happens, many of you might know, if you don't know, basically what happened is Tony Ferguson is doing an interview in the back and he trips over a wire and fucks up his LCL ligament in his knee, tears it off the bone, and he can't fight. So Dana White, the genius, in the money in a McGregor versus Khabib fight, books Khabib versus Ally Quint on April 7th and then strips both McGregor and Tony Ferguson of their belts. And then, instead of choosing Tony Ferguson, who was the interim champ and hadn't lost a fight, he only got fucking his shit due to injury. That's the only reason why he wasn't fighting. Dana White being such a money-hungry fucking pink pig. He books Khabib and McGregor on UFC 299 for the real belt, and Tony's fighting Anthony Pettis on the undercard. So a shocker to no when both Tony and Khabib win because they're the better fighters. Tony then fights Donald Cerrone, still not getting his title shot. In the meantime, Khabib beat Poirier. April 18th, 2020, Khabib and Tony are fighting for the belt finally. This is Tony's chance to get the fucking belt. And I'm sure, as of all of you know, COVID happened, shut down the world. This is because Khabib was in Russia, Tony Ferguson was still in the US. We weren't even sure how we were going to host venues. No one really knew if the pandemic was serious or not. So then, because Khabib's allegedly stuck in Russia, Tony has to have a short notice fight against Justin Gaethje for the interim belt. Also, it's important to note that before this, Tony maintained his weight cut and cut to 155, even though he wasn't fighting anybody, to prove a point to Khabib that he was stuck. A month later, he has to cut that same weight and he fights Justin Gaethje. Didn't have a lot of time to prepare. It's pretty obvious Tony's whole game fucking camp was going to be working on wrestling and avoiding takedowns and defending against the cage. Instead, he has to fight Justin Gaethje, and as I'm sure all you know, he basically got waved off by the doctors in the 5th round after a brutal beating by Justin Gaethje, and this marked the downfall of Tony's career. Tony's currently on a 7-fight L streak, with the fucking most recent one being to Paddy Pimblett. So yeah, despite being undoubtedly the best lightweight on the planet for multiple times of the year and multiple months, he never even fought for an undisputed belt. Like, that's crazy to think about. Tony never fought for an undisputed belt. They were all interims. And because of the UFC's favoritism towards McGregor and shit, he never got the belt, even though he was the best lightweight. All right, next one, Yoel Romero. So Yoel's first chance at the belt was 213 against Robert Whittaker, where he pretty clearly lost 48-47. He definitely won the first 2 rounds and then definitely lost the last. So losing your first chance at the belt to a decision, that's whatever. Then he fights Luke Rock for the belt. He beats Rockhold. He KOs him, like highlight finish, just takes his head off. Unfortunately for Yoel, he weighed at 187.7 pounds, was overweight. So like Charles Oliveira, he won the title fight, but he wasn't allowed to get. He then gets his third chance at the belt, fighting Izzy at UFC 248. And this is where Izzy robs Romero of the belt. Before you disagree with me, I just want to say right now, the vast majority of people think Yoel Romero won the fight. I'll throw it up right here. Most people, including me, rewatching that fight, watching it live, got rounds 1, 2, and 5 for Romero. Even a lot of the media had it for Romero. So after, to me and most people, Romero beats Adesanya. When Romero fought Izzy, he was 43 years old, dude. He was like in his early 40s. So this obviously sparks the question, what if you trained MMA sooner? In my opinion, Romero definitely would have been a champ if he started sooner, which just adds to another, what if in this guy's career. All right, the next guy we got is the natural born killer, Carlos Condit. Condit became the interim champ at UFC 143, where he whooped Nick Diaz's ass for 4 rounds. But so after that, he has this fight with GSP and comes so close to finishing GSP off of that head kick, like so close. Just one clean strike on the ground. If he could land one, GSP would have been out. But he loses a decision pretty convincingly to GSP, but that's whatever. He'd fight for the belt again at UFC 195 against Robbie Lawler. And in this fight, Condit got robbed. And I know I say the word robbed a lot, but this one was a true robbery. 17 out of 20 media members had it for Condit, and almost 80% of people who voted had it for Condit. He clearly won 3 and 4. From being interim champ to almost beating GSP and having, GSP is your title gatekeeper, to beating Robbie Lawler and not getting the belt. Carlos Condit definitely should have been a champ. All right, and the last one is Tom Aspinall. And while I understand that Tom Aspinall still can't get the belt and will get the belt, he has to go on this list because this is just such bullshit. I'm sure a lot of you guys know at 295, John Jones was supposed to fight Stipe Miocic, defend his belt against a fucking washed old Stipe, and then retire. So Tom Aspinall had to step in on short notice to fight Sergey Pavlovich. He ran through him in a minute to become interim champ. That was over half a year ago. And the quote-unquote current champion, John Jones, hasn't fought since March 4th, 2023. And the reason why this is so crazy is Tom Aspinall is going to defend his interim, yeah, I just said that, be the first guy ever to defend his interim title at UFC 304 Manchester against Curtis Blades. And I'm sure already you can just see with that statement, you know what I'm saying? It's an oxymoron. Interim is a placeholder, so you shouldn't be defending a placeholder. If you have to defend the interim title, that means that you're the champion, and the champion should vacate it. And what's even worse about this is John Jones's fight isn't even booked, so who knows when he's going to fight. And when it does get booked, it's going to get booked against Stipe Miocic, and he's going to fight Stipe Miocic. To put Stipe's can status into perspective, Stipe's last win was in August of 2020 against Daniel Cormier. Since the last time Stipe fought, to put this into perspective, I'm going to say some things that have happened since Stipe's last win. Alex Pereira made his UFC debut, won a belt, lost the belt, changed divisions, won the belt, and defended it since Stipe's last win. Another cool one. Alex Pereira, Jailton Almeida, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Benoit St. Denis, Ian Gary, Yuri Proska, and Tom Aspinall all made their debut after Stipe's win. So this guy's a grandpa. It doesn't count. And then John Jones is going to fight this grandpa and then duck Tom Aspinall, putting God knows how much time off of Tom Aspinall's title reign. And the UFC being such fucking cucks, they're just going to let this go on. Because what's going to happen is this. It's even worse too. He's going to fight Stipe, beat him, probably around UFC 307 at the fastest. Then he's going to tease a fight with Alex Pereira, tease a fight with Tom Aspinall, do all this shit, and then vacate the belt. I guarantee you the next time Tom Aspinall fights for a belt will be around UFC 310, even though he's been the rightful champion since 295. That's going to have Tom Aspinall sitting as the rightful champion for about 18 months, give or take, a year and a half. And to anyone who thinks that John Jones would beat Tom Aspinall, why doesn't he fight Tom Aspinall? I promise you, and this is a genuine promise, if John Jones beat Tom Aspinall, that would do so much more for his legacy than beating a fat old washed Stipe. No one cares about that. That dude came and walked to the octagon for watching fights. He has to have fucking crutches walking to watch a fight. Like, dude, this guy can't be fighting anymore. So those were some UFC fighters that should have been champion. And once again, big thanks to Master of Luck. Shout out to that guy. He requested this video. You know, this is like the 4th video in a row that I've been doing that a commenter has requested. So once again, guys, comment if you want to see a video. Good chance you're going to see it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, it's Sean Does MMA.